Hello everybody and welcome back to the free online woodworking school where we aim to take your woodworking skills to the next level. In today's video, we're going to start making the handles. Let's get going. So I was quite hesitant to include this lesson in the series because at the end of the day, the handle design is completely up to you. Like, you could go out and buy a handle and strap it to this, but I have seen countless mistakes by students and also myself when I made this cabinet as part of my course about 8 years ago. And so I wanted to cover a few things here. So for many of you, this may be the most complicated woodworking project you've ever made, and you're so happy with, the complex joinery you've done, the fact you've made a carcass entirely by hand, and you'll want to carry that across to the handle and try and do something complex to match the rest of this. That is the first mistake. Complex does not necessarily mean good. Often with such a simple design like this, a simple handle is what you want to go for. So for example, when I made this cabinet, for the door handle, I hand carved this like walnut Mr. Hanky looking object and stuck it on the front. I was so proud of it at the time. I thought that looks absolutely awesome. And I look at it a few years down the line and it's just shocking. It is awful. Like the carving and shaping is brilliant, but it does not match the theme of the cabinet whatsoever. And then on the drawer, I did a handle that kind of looked like Mario's moustache. Again, really proud of it at the time. I did some awesome shaping on it, got it nice and smooth, and it was like, oh yeah, that's awesome. But you look at it a few years down the line and it's like, what? That has no correlation to the rest of the cabinet whatsoever. Why didn't I just go simple? And yes, of course, this is all subjective. If you would prefer to do something complex, go for it. But I can almost guarantee you that going for something simple and understated will stand the test of time. Going for something complex, you might regret. And so I mentioned this earlier in the series with regards to colours. Quite often on nice designs, you've got one primary colour going on, in this case ash. You've got a secondary colour going on, in this case walnut, and obviously the walnut for the drawer sides. And then you've got a tertiary colour. Now we don't have a tertiary colour on this at the moment. Of course there is the cedar in the bottom of the drawer, but of course in 99% of cases, both the door and the drawer is going to be closed, so we don't really need to worry about that. And so the cabinet at the moment is lacking a tertiary colour. And this whole thing with colour is my personal taste to begin with, but it's also applicable to things outside of furniture. Off the top of my head, something that most of us can relate to, I suppose, is nice cars. If you look at a sports car, the bodywork is going to be a nice bold colour, and then you've got the secondary colours which will probably come in the form of like the grills and the grates and stuff on the bonnet and all that. And then the tertiary colour may be things like the trim, the sort of bits that surround those grills and maybe underneath the doors. It's used as an accent. It's not there to overwhelm the whole design, it's just highlighting little places to make the design whole. And that is exactly what we're going to be doing here. And so if we look at this design, we've already got some dark shadow gaps surrounding the door, we've got a shadow gap surrounding the panel, surrounding the front of the drawer. We've already kind of got a tertiary colour going on, which is black. And so let's build upon that. I'm going to put a black handle here and a black handle here. And just like in a nice sports car, we're going to use that black trim, as it were, to highlight certain areas and add nice details, but not be too overstated. But I do want to highlight again, this is subjective. It is completely up to you what colour you use. But if you take anything from this lesson, take the design element of it. Keep it simple. And so this is what I'm going to be using, a lovely bit of Macassar ebony. And so firstly, the challenge is how wide you want it to be and how much you want it to stick out the door. Obviously you want this small enough to look elegant and refined, but you want it big enough that it's not easily slapped off when the user tries to open the door. My gut instinct is saying that that is sticking up way too much at the moment. Like if I was to open that door, I don't need to grab that entire thing to do so. I'm probably grabbing it about 5mm shy of the bottom, and so I think I can take off that much. Okay, so I've taken off about 3mm and that is looking much better in terms of grip. There's enough to grab with just a little bit extra wiggle room for those with fatter fingers than me. And so now that I've got the height of it down, the width definitely looks a bit too chunky. I need to get that in proportion again. And so let's take some of that thickness out. Much better. So I've taken it down to 6mm now and it's looking much more in proportion than it was before. So that's good. Now I'm not entirely sure if I want to go for a curved design with this handle or a dovetail shaped design. I had a little bit of snipe on the end here, and so seeing as I can't use it, I'm going to use it to create a prototype instead. So I think in terms of overall length, anything longer than 60 is going to look a bit weird. I'll start with 60 and I might bring it down to 50 afterwards. Okay, so there's 60 millimeters. It looks good, but I think it could come down a bit. I think it could come down. Let's take it down to 50. Yeah, 50's looking pretty good. I'm liking 50. And so first I'm going to try and put a curve on this and see how that looks fitted to the door and also the drawer, because ideally I want the design and scale and everything of it to be the same on both. And so I found this pot of instant adhesive. It allows me to get to both corners and also use all the width of the handle. So let's get this cut out. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's cool. It's cool. I've seen the design before. I think it was Alan Peters, and he put the handle on like this. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it works, to be honest. I think the rest of the cabinet is too boxy and angular to sort of have these random curved handles put on it. You know, perhaps if this was a rounded profile on the top as opposed to a chamfer, then it might be sort of more fitting, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think that works too well. Genuinely, if I was to go for another 50mm blank or this curved one, I actually think in this case, just a square block would actually work better. You know, obviously with chamfers and stuff on it to make it look a little bit more thought out. All right, next we're going to go for a dovetail-like design. So I've just eyeballed this sliding bevel. Let's see how this looks. Much prefer that. Much prefer that. However, looking at these side by side now, one thing I am quite liking about this curved design is the fact it is a little bit shallower. I was worried by making it shallower, it would be hard to grip, but like that is absolutely fine. So I think I might take this down just a little bit more. What's that, about literally a millimeter, 1 millimeter. Let's skim that off the angle design and see where that leaves us. Yeah, that's much better. Compare it to that. Yeah, exactly the same. Nice. So let's just put a few chamfers on this as if it was the real thing. I think we're on to a winner with that. So let's properly make 2 of them. And there you go, that's how you create 2 beautiful handles for the door and the drawer. And so in summary, it is up to you, of course, the colours, the design, whether you actually make your own or if you go out and buy shop bought ones. On that note, if you go out and buy shop bought ones, be aware that cabinet hardware is quite often for large, like let's say kitchen cabinets, and therefore the handles are going to be scaled according to those larger size cabinets, and by putting them on here it might be a little bit chunky, but if you can find specific fine cabinet hardware, then you'll probably find that will fit quite nicely. And so we're not going to be sticking them on just yet, because if we do so, it's going to be hard to sand this door, especially the back with that handle poking out the front. So we're going to get the entire thing sanded first, scuff up the back of these handles to get a good gluing surface, and then stick them on once everything has been prepped, ready for finish. So as always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do not forget to press the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video where we begin finishing this cabinet.